Hey guys, thought I would take a quick break from Hollow Knight to show something fun that just came out in Dota. This guy, Grimstroke. This hero just dropped, and he's able to do some really wacky stuff. Mainly thanks to his ultimate, Soulbind. Basically, if two people are standing next to each other and you throw this on them, any spell or item that you use on one of those guys is going to be flung on both of them. And this has led to like some really weird combos and stuff, so I thought I'd take a minute today to explore that and make a quick top 10 most interesting, most useful things that I've seen just from demoing him and from playing a few games, so let's check it out. Alright, so first things first, let's check out what this guy can do on his own. So his first ability doesn't really lend itself to comboing as much as the others do, but we'll talk about it anyway. You aim in a direction, and you lob a big line of ink like that. Its main thing is it slows people down a lot, like 80%. So let me show that. Yeah, that's a big slow. And as you can kind of see there, it does more damage the more enemies I hit. So the close guy will take a little bit of damage, and then the last guy ends up taking a lot. So that's cool, but it doesn't really combo as much as the others, so just thought I would mention it. His second ability, Phantom's Embrace, is a little complicated, but not too bad. When you select someone, you launch this Phantom at him, and as you can see, the Phantom kind of latches on, it has health. What happens is, it has a few number of hits. If the target's able to destroy it, the ghost just dies, and I have to wait for the ghost to come back. But if I latch it on and it's able to survive the entire duration, it will explode for a pretty sizable chunk of damage and reset the cooldown. So I'm able to combo it, so long as they're not able to hit off the Phantom. So that's good to know. His third ability is called Inkswell, and this one's a little complicated too. What happens is I apply a buff to any friendly hero or unit, including myself, and after a short delay, there's a big area of effect stun. There's a few other things going on though. I am silenced during this. You can see whoever's affected by this can't cast spells or do anything. And I'm also immune to physical attacks. So if I have Oracle smacking me here, now he can't. I'm immune. And then he gets stunned. But what's important to note there is, because of my earlier ability, where you shoot a Phantom and then you try to have it survive, I can't activate this, become immune to everything, and then cast the Phantom. It doesn't work like that. You can't really self-combo in that sense. I'd either have to throw it first, or I would have to throw it after the stun comes out. But since the Phantom doesn't have that much health, it's not really easy to get this working solo. You kind of need teammates to help you out. Alright, so first things first, let's just look at his ultimate and see how it works so we understand that. Right now, I have some pretty powerful items here. If I just throw all of this on Tiny, you know, we're used to that. But if I throw my ultimate on him, and now I throw these abilities on him, I just nuked them both. So any single target spell or item is going to get flung on both of them. Also, if they try to walk away from each other, they cannot. Okay, so a few other things to point out real quick. It is possible for one of them to escape with something like a blink dagger or a teleport, something of that nature. Also, if you throw it on someone when no one is close by, but then a hero comes into range, they'll get snared and affected like that. If either of them try to force staff away, they actually cannot. However, if I have them face different directions here, I can force staff them both. And that actually pushes them far enough that it breaks the bond. Finally, it's worth noting that things like spell immunity still take place. So if I bind them, have Tiny go spell immune, even though they're both tied, you saw it kind of tried to fling spells on Tiny. He took no damage because he was spell immune. So it's worth keeping that in mind. Okay, so before we get into the top 10, I thought I'd show a few spells that seem like they should work, but kind of have some unintended side effects or are just kind of weird. So the first one, Static Link from Razor. Unfortunately, you do not steal damage from both. This is worth knowing because in a real game, you probably want to steal damage from the carry or the person doing more damage, and here I stole from the support. You will not get static link from the person you target. You get it from the other hero. So keep that in mind if you're playing Razor with a Grimstroke on your team. That's probably a bug, and I hope they fix it later. Alright, so another hero that's kind of bugged is Brewmaster. As you can see here, I can throw the rock, the tornado. Neither of those spells are doubled. So I'm hoping that's a bug, but right now those just do not work. Up next we have Sunder from Terrorblade, and this one's pretty weird. Yeah. So what happens here is instead of swapping health with your intended target, you swap health with them, and then those two enemies swap health. So let me try that once more. If I bind them together and swap with Oracle, my health was not affected because we both had max health. These two swapped health. So, not the most useful, I should say. It is interesting, though. You kind of conduct science experiments on your bad guys. So just thought I would show that. Kind of similar to that last one is Nether Swap from Vengeful Spirit. If we bind these two, and I swap with Oracle... Huh? Yeah, so again, same thing. I swap with Oracle, and then the two enemies trade places as well. So if I trade place with Tiny now... Whoop! We all kind of rotate in the triangle one way back. So another one that's not particularly useful, but it's pretty interesting. Alright, and the final weird one I want to show here is Double Edge. Now usually, as Centaur, you hurt yourself and everyone around you for a little bit. Not bad, not bad. However, if they are linked, the damage and self-damage is doubled. Now that might be good if you're healthy enough. Like there, I almost killed Oracle with just one hit. But if they are spread out a bit, I'll end up just doing one stack of damage to both of them, and I took double damage. So if you use this, get ready to get hurt really bad. Alright, so at number 10 we have Night Stalker. Whenever two heroes are bound, we're going to be able to silence them, nuke them for a pretty good chunk of damage. But the main synergy here is with Grimstroke's second ability. As we talked about earlier, this ghost takes a few hits to destroy, and if these targets are bound, we can have a ghost on both of them. And both of these heroes have their attack speed slowed with a 50% chance to miss during nighttime. So it's very unlikely they're going to be able to get that ghost off. And even without the bind, just being able to guarantee that ghost hit early on with Night Stalker is a really powerful combo, even if these two heroes don't have items. So it's really good early on. At number 9, we have Lion. Now, aside from the obvious, you know, using his ultimate, Finger of Death, that's a lot of damage. Lion's great because every one of his spells is single target. So he's able to, like, lay down the hurt with all of his abilities on two people. So let's see what a Lion could do with all of his abilities. Okay, ult, stun, hex, and mana drain, all at the same time. And it's worth mentioning, the only reason Lion is so low on this list is because he kind of has the ability to multi-target people already. If he buys an Ags, he's able to AoE, and if he uses the correct skill trees, he's able to mana drain, he's able to hex it. Like, really the only spell that he can't do is Earth Spike, but that already hits a lot of people. He is buffed by Grimstroke, but he does have the ability to do all this on his own. At number 8 we have Shadow Shaman, who also has just about all of his abilities single target. He obviously benefits a lot with nukes, hexes, shackles. Of course, if we throw down the snakes ahead of time. You can see how this could get ridiculous pretty quick. The only problem here is none of Shadow Shaman's abilities pierce spell immunity. So the likelihood of casting this on two heroes and disabling them both is pretty good early on, but later game it's not going to be very easy to pull off. At number 7 we have Warlock, who has two single target spells, Fatal Bonds and Shadow Word. If we cast it on both, and throw our Golem in there, the effects of Fatal Bonds are doubled. meaning any damage shared is going to be multiplied by quite a bit. It's also worth noting that because Soulbind keeps targets so close together, this is a really nice setup for Warlock's third ability, which is this big area of effect slow. So when combined with the Fatal Bonds and Shadow Word and Golem from earlier, it can deal a lot of damage and keep them there. Same problem with Shadow Shaman and Lion though, spell immunity. A lot of that damage is not going to be shared once targets become spell immune later in the game. At number 6 we have Lich, who gets to throw out 2 of his Chain Frost ultimates. And if that wasn't good enough, it's worth noting that because Chain Frost is reliant on 2 or more people being close to each other, Grimstroke Soulbind kind of ensures that. So even if I have them like really struggling to run away, you can see they're just dead stopped, like they cannot get away from that. So that's really powerful. It's also worth noting that because Chain Frost bounces between enemies, it's not just limited to affecting the 2 that we have bound together. Once the balls are set in motion, they can do as much work as they want. And if we give Lich a scepter so that the Chain Frost can bounce as many times as it wants, this gets pretty nuts. And it's worth noting that Lich is usually a support, so the fact that 2 support heroes can pull this off is really good. Sadly though, Chain Frost shares the same problem with the heroes and spells earlier on this list. It does not pierce spell immunity. So while this will probably get a lot of kills early to mid game, and maybe even late game, heroes that have a lot of spell immunity or items are going to be able to get around this. At number 5, we have our first hero able to get around this spell immunity problem, and that's Viper. His ultimate Viper Strike is one of the highest single target nukes in the game. The fact that he's able to cast that twice is pretty awesome. In addition to that, the fact that the bind keeps both of the heroes so close together and moving so slow allows Viper to spit on the ground with Nether Toxin, which is able to break the passives a lot of the hard carries in the game. It's also worth noting that Viper Strike and Poison Attack both slow down enemy attack speeds, so Grimstroke's Phantom has a much higher chance of surviving. So all things considered, these 2 heroes work together really well. At number 4, we have Pugna. And Pugna's great because even before these 2 reach level 6 and use their ultimates, he has a really strong combo with Grimstroke at level 1. With Grimstroke's Ghost and Pugna's Decrepify, the target is not able to attack the Ghost, and they take bonus damage, which resets the cooldown for Grimstroke to throw another Phantom right away. So early on, before heroes have a lot of spell immunity and items to deal with this combo, these 2 can rack up a lot of damage really quickly. That said, once they do have their ultimates, Pugna's able to Decrepify and Life Drain from 2 targets at the same time. When used in tandem with Grimstroke's Phantoms, the damage is absolutely absurd. So yeah, Pugna Grimstroke, really powerful early on, and able to scale into the later game as well. At number 3 we have Bane, another hero with 4 fantastic single target spells to work with. Brain Sap will heal Bane for double, giving him hundreds of health, and of course nuking both people for a lot of damage. Nightmare will essentially take 2 heroes out of the game for a long time, letting Bane either right-click them or focus on other people. At levels 15 and 20, Bane can choose to steal damage with Enfeeble, and steal even more damage. So if you ever want an extra 440 damage, why not? Carry Bane to your heart's content. The fact that Bane can steal damage from 2 heroes, put them asleep for 7 seconds, and then just wail on them without waking them up, pretty insane. The fact that Bane's ultimate pierces spell immunity has always made it one of the best disables in the game, but now that he can extend that for 7 more seconds at level 25 and cast it on 2 heroes at the same time, giving basically 24 seconds of heroes being down, back up. The fact that you can have them both put to sleep, let your team set up, and then cast your ultimate on them, that's crazy. That's absolutely insane. At number 2, we have Bloodseeker. Rupture is of course fantastic. It's one of the strongest ults in the game for just controlling your opponent and where they go, so that's no big surprise. However, Bloodseeker was already able to do this. If he purchased an Ags, he could get 2 charges of Rupture and do this on his own. The problem there though is Ags is not a very popular purchase on Bloodseeker. It costs a lot of his mana in order to cast it twice, and it prevents him from buying a lot of better items, more suited to the hero. With Grimstroke, Bloodseeker can do this for free, but he's also able to cast Blood Rage on both of the targets. This means that in addition to being ruptured, both targets are going to take 40% increased damage for the entire duration. And because Soulbind moves the heroes down so much and makes it hard to move, it almost guarantees that they're both going to get hit by a Bloodrite circle. So when you factor in the boosted damage from both of those sources, this is a really nasty combo. The only caveat here is that Rupture deals more damage the more people are moving, and bonding them slows them down a lot. So if they try to run, they're kind of prevented from taking as much damage as they might take otherwise. This isn't a huge deal, but for best results, you may want to wait a few seconds and cast Rupture right at the end of bonds, so that both targets are moving faster, if they do choose to run away. And before we reveal number 1, let's take a look at some honorable mentions. These spells and heroes were pretty good, but a little too circumstantial to make it into the top 10. Huskar is able to cast Life Break on 2 heroes for the price of 1. If you really want to go nuts, you could boost this even further with an Ags and a Veil of Discord. At level 25, Morphling gets multi-shot on Adaptive Strike. It's pretty nuts. Especially when you combine it with Ethereal Blade. And the only reason Morphling didn't make it to top 10 was because this requires him to purchase an item or hit level 25. And that's pretty late and pretty expensive, I think. This one requires some expensive items and setup, but if you have a Phantom Lancer with a Diffusal Blade and an Ags, you have 2 guys chained together, and just lob 2 bouncing spears in there. It's pretty crazy. If Medusa chooses to get plus 20% mana steal at level 15 and bounces it on 2 heroes, it will steal 100% of their mana. It is absolutely gone. So in a perfect world where everyone is clumped together and there's no other creeps or anything to get bounced on, you can actually completely burn the mana for an entire team. No one has mana. So while this is incredibly powerful and probably the strongest mana break in the game, it really just gets rid of the enemy's ability to fight back. And it doesn't really set up for strong disables or team fights or kills the way that the other heroes in the top 10 did. And our final honorable mention is Bounty Hunter. If you have an Agnum Scepter, and you manage to throw Bounty on every hero on the enemy team, and get your 2 shurikens in there, with the extra bounces from Ags, oh my gosh, the damage is ridiculous. But good luck setting that up. And that just leaves our number 1 pick, which is Doom. Now out of the gate, Doom only has 1 single target spell, and that's his ultimate, Doom. But it is just too good to pass up as the number 1 pick. When Doom casts his ultimate, this means that 2 targets are not going to be able to use items or spells and take heavy damage for 16 seconds. So combined, that's 32 seconds of heroes basically not being able to do anything. When a target's doomed, usually their best option is to try to just run away. But Grimstroke's ultimate has an 80% slow, which makes that really hard to do. With rare exception, when you throw Doom on a hero and are able to follow up, they die. And 2 dead heroes at any point in the game sounds great to me. And this is a crazy, crazy dream scenario, but now for the first time, it is possible to doom the entire enemy team at once. So that's going to be it for my top 10. Thanks for watching, and until next time, have fun out there, guys.